Well, thank you all. What a privilege to be here. We've been having a crazy schedule the last few days, and so we leave here and we're going to head back to Pier tonight. I won't take up a lot of your time. I had kind of some prepared remarks, and I know you have a number of speakers, and I just wanted to visit a little bit with you about what a privilege and an honor it's been for me to have the opportunity to serve as the governor of the great state of South Dakota for the last 8-9 months. And this group especially, I see so many close friends and allies and people that I've rubbed shoulders with and worked in the trenches with through the years, whether it was on pro-family legislation or whatever. And so it's a privilege to be here. I wanted to talk briefly about, the last 8 months, we've put a lot of focus on opportunity. The Monday after session was over, when I first took over as governor, I told my team I wanted to go on an opportunity tour. And so we started an Open for Opportunities tour. And a lot of things have occurred to me since then. It's been amazing how much I've learned about the state. I was born and raised here, and thought I knew a lot about our state. But I've been blown away by the businesses, and both new businesses and old businesses. And so in a lot of the speeches I've talked about opportunity. I've talked about the challenges that we face as a state. And I've identified and articulated that oftentimes challenges are just opportunities that haven't yet been recognized or realized. And the farther I've went into my administration, the more that's common theme has occurred to me. We've had so many adversarial problematic situations that we've turned into opportunities for South Dakota. You can go back to COVID. I think that was a turning point. That was the biggest litmus test our nation's ever faced. And a lot of governors were making decisions in fear. And it reminded me of the scripture in, I think it's 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, "For God is not the author of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And that's one thing that they were forgetting. We were making decisions in South Dakota, not out of fear, but of power and a sound mind. And we came through COVID better than any state in the union. And we became an example to a nation. And you move forward, we talked about, John Hanson talked about the ballot measure. Again, a challenge. That ballot measure was passing in every state that it had been in up until that election day. And we stood strong in South Dakota. And I was proud to play a small role in that, as so many of you all were as well. But once again, South Dakota became an example to a nation of what good, godly principles can lead a state to. I think about it, just in the last couple of weeks. It's been a huge challenge to me, the prison issue and getting that across the finish line. A challenge, but yet an opportunity. And by God's grace, we were able to come up with a proposal that we could garner the 2/3 majority vote that we needed to get it done. But I want you to ponder the opportunity that comes with that challenge. Because one of the biggest issues in that prison that was recognized and addressed was the ability to have the space not just to incarcerate our prisoners, but rehabilitate them. And as Christian people, we have to understand the importance to our fellow man to give them an opportunity, if we can, for them to succeed. Because all we've been doing is rotating criminals into our prisons, out to to reoffend and come back in our prisons. And quite a few years ago, I toured Angola State Prison, Louisiana State Prison. I don't know if many of you know about Angola, but at that time it had the reputation of the deadliest, worst prison on the planet. There were more inmate-on-inmate deaths in Angola than any place on the planet. And we toured that facility, and I got on the bus, and the deputy warden took us on a tour, and I was dumbfounded because it felt like I just got on a Christian camp bus. And he was telling stories about their program with the new warden that had started just 2 years before on faith-based training and rehabilitation. And we went out and met with the prisoners, and they had turned that prison on its ear in 2 years' time with faith-based rehabilitation. And so that's why I was insistent on this prison, that we had more than ample space. In fact, that's the one thing we changed to make it cheaper. You know, when we were cutting square footage off the common areas, we actually added on to the area for rehabilitation and vocational training. When I established the task force, made sure that it was articulated specifically that along with vocational training and rehabilitation, faith-based programs would be part of that curriculum. And so I've talked longer than I should have, but I just wanted to share some of my heart on that because I am excited about South Dakota. And as long as I'm governor, we will continue to do everything we can to keep South Dakota strong, safe, and free, and to continue to be a beacon of hope for a nation that is, in many cases, floundering. I'll leave you with this because a lot of people thoughts have been with Charlie Kirk and his family. He was a godly man and a true example of just good Christian values. And he was a brave soldier. And I told you one of my favorite verses I've already quoted about God's not the author of fear. My second favorite verse, I think, is in James chapter 1. If any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it will be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea. That's been my heart and my prayer every single day since I've been governor, that I would receive wisdom from God and then have the fortitude and the moxie to believe that God has spoke to me and not question the wisdom that he's given me. Thank you all. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless our great state of South Dakota. Thank you.